Hey guys, Credible Crypto here with one video that I've been very excited to make for a while now. This is for the launch of my new page on Twitter called Credible Stocks, where I'll be talking about everything equities from my favorite pot stocks to my favorite uranium picks. If you guys have been following my Credible Crypto page on Twitter, you know that occasionally I would post charts on traditional equities, and because I post most of my content for crypto, these charts would often get lost within all the posts about crypto. So those followers that were interested in following my analysis on traditional equities would often have trouble finding those charts after I'd post them. So for that reason, I made another page called Credible Stocks, where I'll be posting all my content on traditional equities. If you enjoy my crypto content, go ahead and give Credible Stocks a follow. I'll post the link in the video description. As a special treat for the launch of my new page, I decided that I would release a video talking about my number one cannabis stock pick in depth. All right, I've talked about Cronos, which is the pick that I'm talking about. On my Credible Crypto page, I've posted technical analysis on the stock, but I've never actually gone on a deep dive into the fundamentals to further talk about why I'm so bullish on this particular stock out of all the options that we have there in the cannabis sector. So I'm going to be talking about Cronos today, guys. That is my number one cannabis stock pick that I think is a safe bet and can also return us massive returns over the coming years. So let's talk about Cronos, guys. First, I'm going to talk about the fundamentals of the company, why I'm so fundamentally bullish on the company, and then we'll dive into the technicals. For any long-term hold, as I'm sure you guys know this by now, for any of my long-term holds that I plan on holding as investments for a period of 6 months to 5 years, I only invest in those stocks that have both strong fundamentals and strong technicals. So when the technicals line up with the fundamentals and I see both of those things align, that is when I'll usually pull the trigger on a long-term investment, just as I did with my uranium equities. And I will be making an update on those, as we've had some very exciting price action over the last month or so, and they've had some massive movements to the upside. And so the last uranium video I made was some months ago, so I'll be making a uranium video as well, but this particular one is about Cronos, guys. Let's just jump right into it. All right, so we have many of these cannabis stocks, these Canadian cannabis stocks, that I'm sure many of you guys have heard about by now, because a few years ago, I want to say in it's hard to remember, 2015, 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, cannabis stocks went on an absolute tear. Many of them running up. I know a couple of them went from a few dollars to over $200. I think it was Tilray went from, like, I think it was like $5 or $10 or something to over 300. Cronos went from a couple of dollars to $24. Essentially, the entire sector saw a massive boom, which was essentially a bubble cycle that popped. Obviously, all bubbles pop, that popped, and we've now come down from those levels in a correction, and I think we're approaching the time where it makes sense to buy. Okay, so first, let's go over the fundamentals. Cronos, guys, it is one of the smaller Canadian cannabis stocks, smaller of the large Canadian cannabis stocks. So it's one of the major stocks, one of the major companies, but it is smaller than most of the others. However, this is what actually first turned my interest onto Cronos, guys. December 10th, 2018. This was around the time when Altria decided to go ahead and acquire a 45% stake in Cronos. Now, I'm familiar with the tobacco industry, which is why this caught my attention. Those of you who aren't very familiar with the tobacco industry probably don't know what Altria is, and don't know much about why this is such a significant event that happened. But Altria is the number one tobacco giant in the country, guys. Altria is the maker of Marlboro, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. Marlboro is the number one selling cigarette brand in the United States, and they currently control over 40% of the cigarette market in the United States, which is more than the next seven competing brands combined. This was in 2017. I think now they're over 50% as far as market share is concerned. So tobacco giant Altria, that essentially dominates the cigarette market, purchased a 45% stake for $1.8 billion in Cronos. All right, this was a massive investment, massive investment, and this is kind of what put Cronos on the map. All right. Now, the key here is that Altria and their cigarette market has been declining in general over the years as people are becoming more health conscious and realizing the effects that cigarettes have on your body. So their cigarette sales have been declining. And so recently they started making these acquisitions of and trying to get into other markets essentially because they realize that they might not have this consistent revenue coming in from their cigarette markets for much longer, right? They've been raising prices on cigarettes over the last years simply to make up for the lack of revenue that they've been seeing. Demand has been dropping, sales have been slowing, so they've been raising prices to kind of combat that. But we all know they can't raise prices. Um, um, they cannot raise prices forever. There is some sort of price inelasticity when it comes to cigarettes because it is an addictive. It is an um, addictive product that people must have once they're addicted to it, regardless of what the price is. So they can get away with raising the price as they have done. But along with state taxes on tobacco and everything combined, demand is still waning, right? Despite the need for these products. And also, the vape market has also affected cigarettes tremendously. The vape market has been growing pretty crazily and has been taking away from traditional sales of traditional cigarettes. So Altria went ahead and made a 45% purchase of Kronos with the option to purchase 10% more in the coming years. Okay, and they purchased Kronos at a price of, I believe it was around, $12 CAD, 12 Canadian dollars per share is what they purchased it at. Let's see if it's here. Right here. Okay, so 16.25 Canadian dollars. Okay, per share is what Altria paid for these shares. Okay, just we'll get into this more the technical side of things, but just to get you guys an idea of what we're looking at right now, Kronos currently trades at around $6 USD per share. So they paid over double. Of course, it's Canadian dollars, so the exchange rate is a little bit different. I think it falls to around $12 USD, but basically they paid double what the valuation currently is for Kronos shares, right? So they made this massive investment in Kronos, and we already know that they dominate essentially the cigarette market. And let's take a look at Kronos now, right? So today Kronos trades at $6.20, and off from a high of about $24, so it's down over 75% off its highs, and it currently has a market cap of 2.14 billion. All right, now current market cap is 2.14 billion. That's significant. Remember that number. We'll come back to it shortly here. Now, this is another interesting thing, guys. Aside from purchasing a 45% stake in Kronos, Marlboro Company, Altria, also bought a 35% stake in Juul, which is the most dominant vape company in the vape market. So in the electronic cigarette market, Juul dominates they control about 78% of the electronic cigarette market. And this was, I think, before they purchased Kronos. I think they purchased Juul. Maybe it was after. I think it was before though. So they purchased a 35% stake in Juul, right? And I said that I believe this was before they purchased Kronos, but they paid 12.8 billion for that acquisition. And again, Juul they control about 70% of the e-cigarette market, and Altria went ahead and stuck their fingers in there as well because, again, they realized that their cigarettes are declining in sales and they need to find other avenues and other streams of revenue. And so they decided it was a risky move because essentially they're promoting a product which leads to the decline of their own product. It's a very tricky situation, but I think they also realized that vaping is essentially the future. And so they decided to dip their toes into that. So even if they do suffer and the traditional cigarette market goes down, they can at least ride the wave with the replacement of traditional cigarettes, which are going to be electronic cigarettes, as long as these crackdowns don't get too crazy here. But they purchased a 35% stake in Juul. All right. Now the key here, guys, is look at the way that they decided to market Juul once they bought 35% of it. Okay. Real quick here, let's take a look at where Marlboro products can be bought. Okay. Marlboro products can be bought in essentially pretty much every convenience store across the United States of America. That's 152,000 convenience stores across America, not to mention the other large grocery retailers that carry tobacco products as well. I know Walmart used to carry tobacco products. CVS carries tobacco products. I'm not sure if they've stopped carrying them recently, but I know that they did up until the last couple of years maybe. I know some of them are discontinuing carrying of tobacco products such as cigarettes, but these major retailers also carry Marlboro products. So these products are essentially found in 150,000 plus locations across the US. And again, it's the number one dominant tobacco brand. Well, as soon as Marlboro purchased Juul, a 35% share in Juul, they did something that's quite brilliant. They began putting Juul coupons in boxes of Marlboro, so in packs of Marlboro, right? So let me see if this page will load. Here's a post off of Reddit, guys. This is what they were doing. They were putting Juul coupons inside packs of Marlboro, right? So now they're cross-marketing Juul with their Marlboro products. If you buy a packet of Marlboro that is available in 150,000 retail locations across the US and you open it, you will see a little coupon to get you to buy a Juul, which is the company that Marlboro, again, now owns 35% of, right? So they're cross-marketing their products. They're utilizing their massive distribution pipeline across the US to essentially bring Juul to market further, right? Now, think about this in terms of what they can do with Cronos, okay? If, and I should probably just say when, because at this point in time, weed is being legalized across the U.S. state by state. Every year, more states are making it legal. I think 30-something states now have marijuana legal for recreational use, and I want to say maybe 12 or 15 have marijuana illegal for 30 plus have it legal for medical use, and maybe 10 to 15 have it legal for recreational use. But essentially, cannabis is being legalized across the U.S. and it's happening quickly. All right, it was recently legalized in Canada, which is what caused, which was the catalyst that caused the bull run of cannabis stocks some years ago. But it is now starting to be legalized in the United States, and that is a tremendous market that essentially Marlboro dominates when it comes to smokers. All right. So how many dispensaries are in the United States, guys? Only about anywhere between, it's hard to say because there's no accurate count because dispensaries are still technically federally illegal, although they're legal in some states. But I think the number that I've seemed to find off of most of these, the estimates are anywhere between a few thousand over 10,000, with an average of 5 to 7,000 dispensaries nationwide. Okay, so when it comes to marijuana sales, the market is largely still a black market. There's about 5 to 7,000 state legal dispensaries across the U.S. These are all still federally illegal, which is why there is some hesitation towards opening these. It's very difficult to get licenses to open dispensaries, whether it's for medical or recreational use. And so basically there's lots of barriers to entry into the cannabis market right now, which means that legal sales of cannabis are still very low. And as legalization permeates throughout the United States, we can expect the number of cannabis dispensaries to open and to grow, and the amount of legal marijuana to be sold to increase drastically. Now, the key here, guys, is remember that Marlboro already has their products in 150,000 stores, whereas marijuana can only be found in about 5 to 7,000 stores, right? So currently Marlboro has 15 times the amount of locations in which they can put these cannabis products in if legalization occurs, all right? If legalization occurs, it would not surprise me to see coupons for marijuana cigarettes in products that Marlboro already sells at 150,000 stores across the United States, okay? They are essentially, Cronos is now essentially the most well-positioned cannabis company to dominate the markets in the US due to their acquisition or their stake that was sold to Marlboro. If and when marijuana gets legalized in the United States, Marlboro needs to just flip a switch and they can have Cronos marijuana products in every convenience store across the United States within a matter of months, guys. I know Cronos is currently producing a fraction of the amount of marijuana that some of these larger Canadian cannabis companies are producing. But it doesn't matter how much product you have if you can't get that product onto shelves. And that is the biggest advantage that Cronos has over its Canadian peers. It has a partnership with the largest manufacturer of tobacco products in the United States that can easily and very quickly bring Cronos cannabis products to market if and when marijuana becomes legalized across the US, all right? That is a tremendous growth prospect for Cronos if and when it happens, okay? Now, further on that, there's another market that's growing that has a lot of potential for future growth that is starting to pop up, and that is the CBD market, all right? Cannabidiol is a legal and non-psychoactive cousin of THC. It is the chemical responsible for marijuana's psychological effects. So when you smoke weed, you get high and you feel relaxed and you have some more calming effects. THC is the chemical in marijuana that gets you the high, and CBD is the chemical in marijuana that is used for medical uses more often. And it doesn't get you high, all right? It's not going to get you high. There's a big misconception for people that are new to the market that think CBD will get you high. It will not get you high. It has more calming effects, more medical effects, all right? Now, this market, the CBD market, has absolutely been exploding recently. Literally, guys, I walked into a grocery store the other day. It was a natural, organic grocery store, a smaller grocery store, but I think it's called Sprouts. Some of you might know it. It's called Sprouts. I'm not sure if they're local to California, but they're in California, and it's like an all-natural grocery store. And I walked in, and the first thing that I saw was a shelf full of CBD products. Okay, CBD products can now be found in Walmart. They can now be found in CVS. They can now be found in major retail chains across the U.S. The CBD market is growing rapidly, and some estimates say that they expect the CBD market to actually surpass the legal marijuana market within the next 5 to 10 years. And the reason behind this is that CBD products, guys, are their food and beverage products, their health and beauty products. They're more applicable to the average consumer. All right. So there's cannabis is sort of a niche market to those consumers that smoke marijuana. There's a large chunk of consumers that don't partake in smoking marijuana, but they do partake in health and beauty. They do use soaps and shampoos. They drink health drinks. They have face masks. Okay, CBD comes in all forms of things now. You have CBD face masks. You have CBD dog treats. You have CBD cat treats. You have CBD shampoo. You have CBD soap. You have CBD. I've seen CBD lube, guys. It comes in literally everything that you can possibly think of. And it is a product that can CBD coffee. Okay, there's another CBD bath bombs. I mean, this stuff comes in everything now. And so the average consumer who may not be smoking marijuana, but does see that there are medical benefits to CBD, or there are benefits to their skincare, or there are benefits for their hair, or whatever part of their body it may be, will potentially purchase these CBD products. The target market for CBD is the general consumer in the United States. It's a lot more broad than the target market for cannabis, all right? So the potential for this market to grow in the coming years is absolutely massive, okay? Right here, there's an example. Last year, Constellation Brands, the owner of Corona Beer, invested $4 billion into the cannabis company Cannabis Growth. There's also the suggestion that Coca-Cola is in talks with Canadian company Aurora Cannabis to create a CBD beverage, and others are speculating that Starbucks could get in on the action too. So the CBD market is booming, right? Now, what does this have to do with Cronos? Well, soon after Cronos was sold a 35% or 45% stake to Marlboro, soon after that, Cronos bought out a popular CBD brand called Lord Jones for $300 million, all right? Lord Jones sells CBD-infused lotions, gummies, bath salts, and oil. So essentially, Cronos has now also stepped into the CBD game, okay? And so now, again, with Marlboro owning 35% of Cronos, and Cronos having now acquired the CBD company, again, now Marlboro can not only promote Cronos' cannabis products, they can also promote the CBD products, all right? So now Marlboro is in a prime position to not only promote CBD products, or sorry, marijuana products across the U.S. in all 150,000 convenience stores, but they can now also promote CBD products if they so choose. And guys, CBD products can already be found in every convenience store across the U.S. They're already making their way into convenience stores, all right? So that market is already there and it's already building. And now Cronos has a direct pipeline to get their products into all these convenience stores through their partnership with Marlboro, all right? Now, there is a little caveat here. So when I do my research, I like to look at the pros and the cons of every company. There is one con here that rubbed me the wrong way a little bit with Cronos, and that is that this particular CBD company called Lord Jones, actually, I guess the co-owners of the owners of Lord Jones are also the owners of Cronos. So there's some conflict. I wouldn't say conflict of interest, but you have the co-owners of Lord Jones also being the co-owners of Cronos, right? And then Cronos goes ahead and acquires this company for $300 million, which essentially put millions of dollars into the pockets of the owners of Cronos and Lord Jones, the same owners, right? So there's a little bit of a red flag there, right? Something that I have to take into account when I'm doing my analysis, my fundamental analysis, a little bit fishy, all right? A little bit fishy that that Cronos decides to buy out a company that's related to their co-owners, all right? But and I think that the amount that they may have paid, the 300 million, may have been a little bit greater than what they should have paid for this company. But aside from that, guys, the bottom line is they're now in the CBD game as well, and so that is the major takeaway point from here. And I've read, of course, and it makes sense that the owners of the company sat out of negotiations when it came down to this because of the conflict of interest, right? So that's fine. That's how it should be. Of course, I don't know much about this Lord Jones CBD company besides the fact that they make CBD products and it's a rather small company. But again, the point is that they now have a pipeline into every convenience store across the nation through their partnership with Marlboro, and that's a significant takeaway from here. All right. Let's see here. Global cannabis sales projected to exceed 43 billion by 2024. I mean, there's these types of projections everywhere. There's projections that say 40 billion. There's projections that say 80 billion. The point is that global pot sales will increase over the years, and when marijuana becomes legal in the United States, it's going to be a massive boom that Cronos is the most well positioned to take advantage of out of all the competing Canadian cannabis stocks that we have. Now, let's see here. What else? What else do I want to go over? We'll go over the technicals here in a minute, but there's one more thing that I want to cover. This right here. Okay, so Cronos Group cash on hand from 2017 to 2019, guys. The most recent report of cash on hand shows that Cronos had a whopping $1.5 billion of cash on hand as of December 31st, 2019, during the last report. All right, they had 1.8 billion through the sale of 35% or 45% to Marlboro or to Altria. They spent 300 billion on Lord Jones. That brings them down to 1.5 billion dollars in cash, guys. Cash on hand. That's huge. All right, that is huge. Now let's take this into account with respect to their current valuation. Right, 1.5 billion in cash for a company whose market cap is currently valued at 2.15 billion. All right. That tells me that of the 2.15 billion, 1.5 is in liquid assets. It's in cash, right? Which means that the value of the actual enterprise value of the company is only is 500 billion. Okay, so at the bare minimum, this company is worth 1.5 billion because that's how much liquid cash they are sitting on at the bare minimum, right? And then they don't have any other major liabilities, so their base value is 1.5 billion, and they're currently trading at a net worth at a market cap of 2.14 billion. Okay. And keep in mind, when they're at their highs, they're trading at a market cap of around 8 billion. Okay, so current market cap is quite close to their actual value. You know, discounting any potential growth, discounting the potential legalization of marijuana, discounting their partnership with Marlboro. It's pretty close to their intrinsic value at 1.5 billion. Okay, that being said, the concern here is that if they start spending this 1.5 billion aggressively, it's going to directly impact their market cap. I mean, their worth, right? Their intrinsic value is mainly currently coming from their cash on hand at 1.5 billion of 2.14 billion. So if they start spending this 1.5 billion in the wrong ways, it's not going to be good for their intrinsic value, right? Because currently it's mainly made up of the 1.5 billion in cash reserves that they have. So that is the fundamental overview, a very brief overview on Cronos. And the reason why I'm so bullish on it is essentially because of the future growth prospects. The same way that I'm bullish on the iridium sector because of the future growth potential is the exact same way that I'm bullish on Cronos because of its future growth potential, right? If and I should say more likely when marijuana gets legalized in the United States, there is no company out there that is better positioned to take advantage of this insanely large market than Cronos. And their partnership with Marlboro and the way that Marlboro has dealt with its past partners in the past, Juul, etc., tells us that when it happens, Marlboro will aggressively market their products and get them on shelves across the country in a way that no other cannabis company currently can do in the United States. So that is the fundamental reason for which I'm bullish on Cronos and why I'm very confident in it. There's no other cannabis company that currently has the backing of a company like Altria and is well poised as Cronos. Now let's talk about the technicals, guys, because as I said, I need to see things line up with both the fundamentals and the technicals. So let's move on to the technical. All right, guys. So here is the Cronos chart, and let us jump right into the technicals, right? So I posted this chart a while ago on my Credible Crypto page, essentially trying to highlight that that we've actually completed a very clean and clear 5-wave move to the upside here on Cronos from a technical perspective. We had a 1, 2, 3, a very nice wave 4, and then a overlapping three-legged 3-3-3-3-3 ending diagonal here. All right. So five-wave move has been completed. This was essentially the bubble top. It happened, I guess, in 2019. I guess earlier or later than I had thought it did. It started in 2016. Okay, yeah. So 2016 to 2019 was the bubble for major cannabis stocks, and right here we can see Cronos went from 17 cents up to $25, guys. That is a insane move of 14,000, about 15,000%, or 150 times increase. Those are crypto-like gains, guys. A very significant move here on Cronos, and that move completed. Okay, so now ever since then, that was at $24.50. I've been waiting to buy. These marijuana stocks at their lows before I think we're ready to go for another wave of this magnitude to the upside. Now, as far as I mean, this is the chart in non-long scale and log scale, and it gives you a better idea of where exactly we're at, guys. Okay, so this was a key area of support that we are essentially, well, we lost, and we're trying to get back above it right now. RSI is bullish, and that's one reason why I bought my first bag of Cronos here at around $6, about break even on that bag, and I had saved 50% more in case we dropped into 265. Note, guys, that 265 is essentially the bottom of the barrel if it ever gets down there, and I don't think it will at this point, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But 265 is essentially the bottom of the barrel, essentially where we started accelerating to the upside massively. And that was kind of the backup. In case this level was lost, I would double down here at 265. But I think that the low is in at around 394. I don't think we're going to get any lower. And let's talk a little bit about why here. So taking a look at RSI, we have a number of bullish divergences that have formed here on the weekly time frame. We have a bullish divergence from this low to this low, as can be seen right here. And then we had another bullish divergence from this low to this low, as can be seen right here. Okay. So bullish divergences on the weekly indicating that sell pressure is drying up here as we push into a major area of support. All right, this is essentially the last area where we started off our final blow off top to $24. Okay, this is also a price at which is 75% down from all-time highs. And again, remember, Marlboro purchased their share of Cronos at about $12. Okay. So you're getting to buy Cronos at a price that's 50% less than what Marlboro paid for them. All right, that's huge. If Marlboro had waited to buy Cronos here, they could have bought the entire freaking company. All right, so that's how significant of a discount we're at. All right, Marlboro saw value in Cronos at $12, and we're currently at half that price. Essentially, we're trading at a major discount, in my opinion. I've done my fundamental research, but I sure as hell believe that Altria has done even more research than I have, and they decided that it was worth buying Cronos at a price of $12 a share. Okay, so take my fundamental analysis and then take and then understand that a company like Altria, who is spending a lot more time analyzing the company than I am, thought that it was worth buying at twice the price that it is now. Okay, and then look at the technicals, and we can see that we're getting these bullish divergences in our RSI. We've hit a major area of support. We've fallen below it, but I think we're going to go ahead and break back above it. Now, we tapped $4, okay? We tapped $4 here, and I want to show you guys where exactly that level leads to on the lower time frame. So I'm going to go down to the 3-day, and let's get rid of log here. It makes it a little bit more apparent. But as you guys can see, we're grinding. And acceleration of the up move started right around here. Right around this region, we started accelerating rapidly to the up move, which indicates that this area, this area is an area of demand, right? This is where buyers fully stepped in to push price, to accelerate price to the upside for what at that time was a 500% increase, right? So this area of significance is going to be a major area of demand, okay? And we can kind of narrow that down by taking this little order block, the down move before, or the last down move before the acceleration of the upside, which is going to be this little chunk right here. So this is going to be an intermediate support between our support here and our bare bones support here at 265. And we've essentially almost tapped that region there at 383, okay? I can go down to the daily actually, and I think we can narrow this down even more, right? So if we go down to the daily, we can narrow this down even further. We can go with this little down move before this acceleration, right, on the daily. So let's go ahead and mark that little down move off, and let's see where we get, right? And boom, we tapped it perfectly. We dipped right into it, and we got aggressively bought back up. We have divergences showing on all the high time frames, guys. This is why I think the bottom may be in here on Cronos. and why I think it's an excellent time to be buying. All right. If we go lower, all right, if we go lower, one can argue that, hey, well, 271 looks like a good place to go. Well, guys, what would the market cap of Kronos be at 271? If it's currently at $6.23, okay, 271 gives us a market cap of, let's see here. So it's 271 or 623 is 2.23 times 271. So if we divide the current market cap by 2.23, that would give us the market cap at 270. Current market cap is 2.15 billion divided by 2.3 gives us a market cap of 0.93 billion. I hope I did the math right at 271. 0.93 billion, about $1 billion in market cap at 272, right? Now remember, guys, they're currently holding 1.5 billion in cash, right? So for price to get down to $1 billion when they're holding 1.5 billion in cash, I mean, I don't see how it gets there, right? Unless they spend a bunch of that cash soon, I don't see the market cap dropping to less than the amount of liquid cash that they are currently holding, right? Based on the amount of liquid cash they're currently holding, it makes about 75% of their market cap. So based on if they just continue to hold the amount of liquid cash that they have, actually, yeah, $4 is essentially, at $4, they essentially hit that valuation. I think about 1.5 billion at $4, right? At $4, they essentially hit the valuation of their market cap that correlates to the amount of liquid cash they're holding. So I can't really imagine it going much less than that. This was a key area of demand. They don't have any significant debt on their books, so their net value is right about here. And we tapped that perfectly. It matched up with our area of demand that pumped us to the upside. So in my opinion, this was likely the bottom, okay? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to start making a 5-wave impulse to the upside today or tomorrow or next week for that matter, right? This does not necessarily mean that we're going to see marijuana stocks go off on a bull run today, okay? And head straight to $75. That's not what it means. We could very well be in a choppy movement for a period of time before getting an impulse to the upside that essentially leads us to the next bull market of marijuana stocks, okay? Now, there is a wild card in here. Essentially, I think that this could take some time, okay? And it could be a year, okay? It could be 2 years. This could go on to 2022 before we see another impulse similar to this one that launches us off into the stratosphere, okay? It's not necessarily going to happen within the next month or two, okay? But the undeniable fact to me is that we are at a place where it makes complete sense to start averaging in for a long-term hold. And one thing that I don't know if and when it will happen is federal legalization of marijuana. If a year from now or if 6 months from now it is announced that marijuana becomes federally legalized, you can bet that Kronos stock is going to react in a very bullish manner, and that could kick off the next impulse early, all right? That's very possible. I don't know if and when marijuana will be legalized at the federal level, but if it happens early, you can bet that it's going to kickstart the next bull run or the next impulse on Kronos stock, okay? Now, assuming that doesn't happen right away, I would not be surprised to see us essentially range, okay, for the next year or so, and I don't know how high it'll take us, but some sort of sideways action before we get an impulse to the upside, okay? But bottom line is, if you're in this for the long term, and if you're looking for a long-term hold or a long-term investment in a stock that has massive growth potential, that's currently trading at a 75% discount from all-time highs and a 50% discount from where Altria, the largest producer of cigarettes in the United States, purchased from, then Kronos is an excellent pick here, okay? So I went ahead and I bought 50% of my holdings here at $6 when we were right about here in November, I think, of this year. And I was holding out the other half in case we decided to dip to 270. But after looking at what I'm seeing now, I'll probably go ahead and add that other half in here shortly to just load up completely on Kronos with my full long-term hold at current levels, guys. I don't think you can go wrong here, okay? We could fall lower, just as we did with uranium stocks. We could fall lower. But if you're in this for the long term, it's a buy and hold, a set it and forget it investment. You really, in my opinion, can't go wrong buying at these levels. Of course, guys, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Please do your own research. But this is why I am very interested in buying Kronos at these levels, why I've already started buying, why I will continue to buy Kronos at these levels, and why I'm very bullish on it from both a fundamental and a technical perspective, and why I pick Kronos over most of the other Canadian cannabis stocks. They have a significant advantage, in my opinion, for the US market because of their partnerships with Altria, something that I don't see in any other cannabis stock. And so for this reason, I've made Kronos my top pick of the cannabis stocks, and I think it has the most potential future growth. That's all for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was my top cannabis pick for hitting 1,000 followers on my new Credible Stocks page on Twitter. If you guys haven't followed it yet, please give us a follow. I'll post the link in the description. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys liked it, please share and comment, like, and subscribe to let me know that you'd like to see more videos like this. I would be happy to make them if they interest you guys. That's all for this video update, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, thanks.